Mr Speaker.
John Hayes.
Thank you very much. I rise in support of the third reading of this bill, and it's great to be in a waka with 121 paddlers, and all but I think 11 of them paddling in the same direction. Why? Because this bill is going to give us new market opportunities, it's going to help exporters, and it's going to help service providers. It's going to provide transparency, and it's going to provide certainty. Malaysia is our 8th largest export market. It's bigger and more important to us than Germany, and then India, and then Canada. And since 2000, in that period between 2004 and 2008, our exports grew annually at a rate of 80%, and that's double the rate to exports, New Zealand exports to the rest of the world. Our investment in Malaysia has grown by 77% since 2003 and now sits at about $500 million, at least in 2008, the last figures I've seen. That means that our investors have confidence in the integrity of Malaysia's systems, particularly justice systems, and the integrity of their private sector law. Mr Speaker, the Green Party contain 9 paddlers who are facing the back of the canoe, not the front. And I would like to respond to Dr Kennedy Graham's request for some practical examples as to why their understanding of life is, in a practical sense, different from the other paddlers of this waka. The Green opposition to the bill is set out in a minority view in my committee's report back to Parliament, and I quote, "It wrongly assumes that the two countries will both be better off as a result of signing up to this agreement." And how wrong can you be, and how muddled can your thinking be in their party? I think that the Greens may have moved on and using computers, and if that's the case, I invite them to type in Google. It's a search engine, and within having got to that step, apply the word Ricardo, R-I-C-A-R-D-O, into the program, and then read what it says about Ricardo, because his insight is that trade barriers, whether they're subsidies to farmers, whether they're regulations prohibiting clothing or textile issues, or whether they're just taxes, they will make us and Malaysia worse off. Ricardo argues that it doesn't matter if it's Malaysia is better than New Zealand at making things than we are. What he says is each country should stick to what it does best and stick to producing whatever their economy is best at turning out. So even if, Ricardo would argue, even if New Zealand were worse at producing everything than Malaysia was, we should still stick to what we are least bad at producing. Now, you asked Dr Kennedy Graham for some practical examples. Well, let me try and give you one. I've got a company in Dannevirke, and it's called Metalcraft, and let's say it produces an electric drill in half an hour. Or it can also, these are very good people in Dannevirke, and they could also produce a flat screen television in about an hour. But a Malaysian worker can produce an electric drill in 20 minutes and a flat screen television in 10 minutes. So if New Zealand and Malaysia do not trade, which is the outcome you want, nothing is going to change, because it's going to take us 90 minutes to work to produce a flat screen TV and a drill. And in Malaysia, the TV and the drill can be made in half an hour. So it follows, if we follow the Green Party way of looking at the world, nothing will change. Things will stay as they are. But if we get rid of the trade barriers, as this bill is aiming to do, we can both trade, and both countries can be better off. The Malaysian worker can make 2 televisions in 20 minutes, and the Dannevirke worker can make 2 drills in an hour. Let's trade one drill for one TV, then both New Zealand and Malaysia are better off because they saved at least a third of the time involved. Now, contrary to green belief, it's simply not possible for trade to destroy all of the jobs in New Zealand. It's also impossible for us to import everything from abroad and export nothing. If we did that, if we followed this green utopia, then because we'd have no cash to buy anything with. It may surprise the Greens, but goods and money do not just appear and disappear. They are interconnected. No one beyond New Zealand would accept a new like milk and cheese and wool and timber, so that our dollars can be used or have a basis for paying back other countries. Having gone down this road with Ricardo, my second suggestion is that Dr. Green and his paddlers going in the wrong direction could type into Mr. Google the next words, ABBA learner, A-B-B-A, next word, L-E-R-N-E-R, and read what is arguably the most important trade theory, or theorem of trade theory. Because in 1936, before even you were born, Dr. Kennedy, Dr. Kennedy Graham, he said that a tax on imports is exactly equivalent to a tax on export, and he proved this. So finally, I think that we should think about the practical examples you asked for, Dr. Graham, and we can think about countries that are restricted, North Korea, and we can think about countries that are open, South Korea. I'll leave it to you to determine who is the better off from that trade agreement, from that free trade, or from that status of openness of their economy. We can think about Austria, and we can think about Hungary. And we can think about our recent experience since signing the free trade agreement with China, because, as I said in the House last night, in the year to April 2010, our exports to that country increased by $860 million. That's an increase in a 12-month period. That increase is virtually the same size as us finding another export market the size of Indonesia. Opening that free trade agreement with China has helped every person in this country, and it has insulated, to some extent, New Zealand from the recession that we find ourselves in. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I would just say this bill is a good bill. It's a good bill for the people of Dannevirke. It's a good bill for all of the people in the Wairarapa. It's good for all New Zealanders, and it's good for all Malaysians. It has my total support. Thank you.
Stuart Nash.
Thank you, mate.